of you guys are excited about being here on a Saturday, some of you not so much. Some of you are really excited about your confirmation, maybe some of you not so much. Some of you, I think majority of you probably just like, I don't know, I feel like just kind of indifferent, like, whatever about it, you know? And now you've been asked to pick a side, and you're kind of like, well, what side should I choose? Well, that's what this session is really going to talk about a little bit. I'm going to talk about like why you should choose the God side, so to speak, of this thing. Because what are really our options? Our options, as Mary said, you can be lukewarm, which is like, yeah, I do church sort of, but like I don't really do anything with it. I don't live like it. I don't go to church, but like I say I'm Catholic, I say I'm Christian. That's really what we call that lukewarmness. That's what we're not looking for. Of course, then you got your people that are like, yeah, I'm kind of anti-God, I'm anti-church, I'm anti all that stuff. And they're like, we obviously know where they stand. And then you got people that are for church. And many of us look at some of those people like they're a little bit weirdos, like they're freaks, right? Like maybe you guys, some of you guys look at Mary and I, you're like, you guys do this for a living? Weirdos. You know what I mean? Like that's freaky. But we're not asking you to be like a retreat leader or a youth minister or whatever. We're asking you to go full in. Put all your chips on the table. Give God a blank check. That's what we're asking of you guys, right? And I'm going to give you now a brief description as to why we think. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, you know, we would love to have children. For whatever reason, it's just not happening. You know, like children it just hasn't been happening. We've gone to doctors, we've tried to check things out, it just hasn't been happening, right? Well, a couple of years ago, right? So just think about it, like 9 years of marriage, no children. Trying for it, it's not happening, whatever, right? It's tough. It's kind of like frustrating. It gets to be a pain after a while, right? You see all your friends, everyone else having kids and stuff like that, and it's kind of something you hope for or want, but it's not happening. Have you guys ever had something in your life where you really want it, and everyone around you is getting it, and you're not? Maybe it's the iPhone 6. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's something like you want, and you're just like, why is everyone else getting this and I'm not? Right? It's tough. It's a tough experience. So, in 2012, my wife, and this is a funny story, right? So my wife, all of a sudden, she was in the bathroom downstairs. We were at my in-laws' house, right? So she's in the bathroom downstairs, and I'm upstairs, and my sister-in-law are up there. We're kind of hanging out, talking and stuff. And my wife, Kelly, just all of a sudden goes, Mike, come down here now. And I'm like, okay. So I go downstairs, whatever, like that. She's like, you need to go in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh no. Like I thought somebody like totally just like diarrhea all over the bathroom or something, like I'm gonna like wipe this up or something. I'm like, oh no. And then she was like, no, it's not bad. And I was like, oh, so it's just like a spider or something I gotta kill. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, as a guy, that's what you do, you know? So I go down to the bathroom and I walk in the bathroom all slow, because I'm really honestly thinking that there's like poop all over the wall or something, right? So I walk in the bathroom and I'm like looking around, I'm like, what am I here for, you know? And right there on the sink, there is a pregnancy test and it's positive. And I'm like, whoa. So I pick up the pregnancy test, and then I walk out, and I go to my sister-in-law, who's like just a couple years younger than my wife and I, right? And I go to my sister-in-law, and I was like, Kristen, you should come down here. And she's like, no, I don't want to. I'm like, it's not poop, you're fine, you know, it's not a spider or whatever, come on downstairs. And she's like, no, I'm really scared. And I go, and I hold up the pregnancy test, I'm like, Kristen, look. And it's a pregnancy test, and she goes, and her eyes get so big, and she goes, that's not mine! That's not mine! I'm not saying it's yours. Calm down, freak face. You know what I mean? Like, she was flipping out. And then she was like, is that mom's? And like, she thought it was her mom's, my mother-in-law, who's like almost 60 years old. So she's like flipping out, like, am I gonna have a like younger brother and sister? And I'm like 39 years old. It was a funny moment. Anyway, so my wife's pregnant. We're like, yay, finally, awesome, you know? And it's just a huge thing. Prayers pay off, all this kind of stuff like that, right? Well, we go forward kind of in preparing and planning and all this kind of stuff like that. And then one day, we wake up in the morning and Kelly and I go to Mass. And we're at Mass and Kelly is about, I think 7.5 months pregnant at this time, right? So she's got a nice little belly and everything. And we're in Mass, and Kelly just kind of turns to me at one point. She goes, you know, I haven't really felt the baby move today. I go, well, you know, maybe just early, whatever, you know, he's still sleeping, he's tired, whatever, you know. So we kind of go on, and I had to go give a talk like I'm doing for you guys right now. You know, I had to go out and do something. Well, after I was done with that, she gives me a call. She's like, Mike, you need to come home. Like, I've called the doctor and stuff like that. I'm not feeling the baby move. Like, this is an issue. Like, I think we're gonna have to go to the hospital, check things out, or whatever. I'm like, okay. So I race home. Like I drove real fast home, right? So I get home, I pick her up, we drive out to the hospital. We get to the hospital, and then they hook her up to all these machines and stuff, trying to feel the heartbeat or hear the heartbeat and stuff like that. And they hook it up, and you know, the nurse, like, she hooks it up and stuff. She's like, oh, you know, people get nervous all the time, whatever. I'm sure everything's fine. She hooks it up, and then she's looking at her monitor and stuff like that. And she's like, just excuse me one moment. She leaves. She goes back with another nurse. They look at the thing. Hold on one moment. And they're like being weird with us, and you can tell something's up, something's wrong. So finally they have a doctor come in, and they confirmed that unfortunately our child that we had gotten pregnant with had died in the womb. So here she was, like 7 months pregnant, nice big belly. We're kind of expecting, like, you know, that weekend she's supposed to have a baby shower. It's a big deal. And like, boom, it's just like, it's gone. And it was like one of those moments that Kelly and I were just, like we just totally broke down. Totally were shattered. It's been 9 years trying to have a kid, finally get one, and before like the finish line, nothing. But here's the reason why I bring this up. I brought up Nicole and the coming to faith that she challenged me to. I brought up that retreat, that experience that connected me to Jesus in a way that I've never been before. And I bring up this Liam situation. The reason why I bring it up is because it was the probably most devastating, challenging thing that I've gone through in my life. It's probably one of the most sorrowful moments I've had in my life. I've never, like, I'm not like a crier. I'm not like one of those. I wept for the loss of my son. Liam was his name. It was very difficult. But what made it less difficult was knowing that I had Jesus there with me. Jesus who suffered on a cross 2,000 years ago, who goes through everything he goes through, who was God who became man. He didn't have to do that. God became a human being like you and I. He became a baby so that he could be raised, grow up, die on a cross for you and I. Every single one of you, he would have done it for you as an individual. If you were the only human ever created, he still would have done that for you. Why? So that we could see him face to face in heaven forever. If Jesus didn't do this, we'd have no access to heaven. If Jesus didn't do this, the original plan of God, which was that we are with him, one with him, face to face with him, would never have been accomplished unless Jesus did this. So this Liam situation, as devastating as it was, as heart-wrenching as it was, I knew that I had a Savior, God, that was there with me through it all. And I knew, because he had taught us, because God had revealed to us that there is a heaven, that there is redemption. Now I have a hope. And still that my son is there. And one day I will hold him. I have a son up in heaven, and he's an angel, and he's praying for me. I have a hope, I have a knowledge, I know this for certain, that one day when I die, I will go to heaven and I will get to meet my son for the first time. This is why faith is important. This is why we sell out. This is why we go all in for God. And our hope today, guys, and we're going to obviously continue to bring some different things. We're going to do some stuff different. We'll talk about how